Hello. Hello.
Hello. Sorry, I'm also listening to the other link. Shall I exclude it?
मैं वही कह रही थी, मैं तो मेरे पास तो कोई रिकॉर्ड नहीं आया कि कौन है। अब इधर आप चेक करो, रिकॉर्डिंग में से मैंने ऑन कर दिया। अरे कर दो या चेक कर आ जाओ ना ऐसे मैं ना रिकॉर्डिंग नहीं करना तो चेक कर लो कि बस अपना एडमिट करेगा। कुछ करना ਇਹਨੂੰ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਨਾ ਆਪਦੇ ਵਾਲੇ ਨੂੰ ਕਰੋ ਸਾਰੇ ਆਨਸਰ मेरा माइक कौन सा दस नाल का वाला ओपन कर लो हाँ ऐसे एक बारी रिकॉर्डिंग चेक कर लो मैं ऑन करती अपने वो ठीक है ਤੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕੋਈ ਆਏਗਾ ਬਸ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਐਡਮਿਟ ਕਰੀ ਜਾਣਾ ਠੀਕ ਹੈ ਜੀ ਆ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ ਦੋ ਆ ਰਹੇ ਨਾ
Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of Hindu College Amritsar, I, Dr. Manpreet Kaur, extend a very warm welcome to all of you to this ICPR sponsored 2-day international conference on sustainability and environmental well-being, philosophical and religious perspective from Indian knowledge system. It gives me immense pleasure to see such enthusiastic participation from such bright and motivated individuals who joined us from different places. This platform is not just about presenting papers, but also about sharing ideas, exchanging knowledge, and inspiring each other. It is my proud privilege to extend a very warm welcome to our esteemed chief guest, Dr. Raghavendra Pratap Singh. Please wait a minute for Dr. Singh.
Hello.
Hello. Good afternoon, sir. We are just waiting for the chief guest to join, sir. Just for two minutes, sir.
So, okay. Okay.
Oh, yes,
you.
sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. So it gives me immense pleasure. It gives me immense pleasure to see such enthusiastic participation from such bright and motivated individuals who joined us from different places. So this platform is not just about presenting papers, but also about sharing ideas, exchanging knowledge, and motivating, inspiring each other. So it is my proud privilege to extend a very warm welcome to my participants. Actually, our chief guest has not joined us so far due to some technical reasons. Till then, we can start with the session. So let's begin with our session. And I wish every participant the very best. All the participants are requested to kindly conclude their presentation within 10 minutes. So I'm hereby calling our first participant from University of Colombia, Portugal, that is Dr. Gianluigi Segaleva. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me? It's regular. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
We can hear you, sir.
Yes, thank you. I would have a PowerPoint to share. Is possible? Is possible? I would like to share.
Yes, sir. Dr. Gianluigi Segaleva. The title of your paper is Unity in Multiplicity.
Yes.
Kindly share your ideas with us.
Yes, I have a PowerPoint. I can share it if I am trying to see whether.
Take your time, sir.
Yes, I make immediately. Only a moment. Let me see whether I can share it. Otherwise, I will speak without sharing. Unfortunately, I cannot share. I will perhaps then send my PowerPoint because I think that we are losing time and I don't want perhaps. I'm sorry. Can you see it? Because I do not know. No, I cannot share it. Well, I can speak without sharing because I think that we are losing time. I am sorry. I cannot.
It's okay, sir.
No,
Do we
I
need
cannot
more time?
share it. I am sorry because I cannot. I do not manage to share it. It's unfortunately. Now I blocked completely, and I do not know what to do. Excuse me. Cannot.
Don't worry, Dr. Gianluigi Segaleva. You can take your time. Meanwhile, we can start with the welcome of our chief guest, Dr. Raghavendra Pratap Singh ji.
So, good afternoon, everybody. Am I audible to you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You are
Thank you
audible.
very much for.
It's my proud privilege to extend a very warm welcome to our esteemed chief guest, Dr. Raghavendra Pratap Singh. who is presently working as Dean, Faculty of Humanities and Religious Studies at Guru Nanak Dev University, Amritsar. He has earlier served at Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi, where he also chaired the Center for Philosophy. With over 22 books, 190 research papers, and decades of academic leadership, Dr. Singh has made significant contributions to philosophy, culture, and education. He has delivered lectures at prestigious institutions worldwide, including Harvard University, Frankfurt University, and many more. A distinguished scholar and mentor, he has guided more than 50 PhD scholars and 25 MPhil dissertations. His expertise spans German idealism, postmodernism, consciousness studies, Indian and Western perspectives, multiculturalism, and the philosophy of education. So we are privileged to have him with us today as our chief guest. Dr. Singh, over to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much for inviting me and also giving me this opportunity immediately after the inaugural session. So I'm really intrigued by this theme, sustainability and environmental well-being, philosophical and religious perspectives from the Indian knowledge system. So what I will like to say, I think I have 5 or 10 minutes time I have. How much time do I have? Can anybody help me? So since nobody is there to help me, so I can just take the opportunity. So, but in this session, we have 8 presentations, and towards the end, I have to give some observations. But before that, I would like to outline 2 or 3 problematic areas which we are facing. You see, today in the year 2025, we are in a war zone. There is a war going on for more than 3.5 years. There is a war going on for 1.5 years, and there have been occasional wars. There is fear, there is anxiety, there is worry, there is uncertainty, there is displacement, there is destruction, there is genocide. So it's a very serious kind of situation in which we are all thrown. It was never before. And 3 things which are a challenge to whole of humanity. First thing is about environment problems, ecological imbalances, and we have to look for the ways and means to sustain it. And this has been going on for a fairly long time. Since 60s or 70s, we have been having seminars, conferences, and commitments, agenda, and everything else has been happening on and off. So this is one issue. But in addition to that, the kind of situation in which we are at present, the biggest threat comes from nuclear warfare and also from artificial intelligence. And we still have not looked at the possibilities how to cope up this kind of a situation. It's open kind of a thing, and there are very, very ways to look at it, and it's going to affect the whole of humanity. So in a way, there are 3 dangers to the whole of humanity: environment, nuclear warfare, and artificial intelligence. In the conference, we are focusing on the environmental issues, sustainability, and Indian knowledge system kind of thing. Now about Indian knowledge system, let me just admit one thing, because I've been engaged in the IITs also for designing the courses and also selection committees. And what I have observed is that these engineers, technocrats, technicians who come from the IITs, these are the ones who decide the dams, the bridges, and and they just do not take the help from Indian knowledge system at all. They just go back to their, background in the engineering, which is mechanical, electrical, electronic, and it has anthropocentric worldview. It doesn't have any kind of cosmocentric approach. No ritas, no dharma, nothing is followed there. Except in the inauguration, they just throw some flowers, but then they start doing their own business. So unless these ingenious technocrats and more so the bureaucrats are exposed to this kind of a thinking about Indian knowledge system, nothing is going to happen substantially. This is a very big challenge, for the humanity as a whole. So let us reflect seriously on these issues, that Indian knowledge system, who is following it? The planners are not following. They are making, this, express highways, how much land they are consuming and creating environmental problems, and what for? They have no idea. The whole idea of development is a kind of slow poison they are spreading. And Indian knowledge system was very sustainable kind of a thing, need-based, and also, caring for the environment, ecology, and all sorts of things. Now, three things which bring out to our attention. One is bioregionalism, second is biodiversity, and the third is biocentrism. So these are the three ways to look at the intrinsic value of nature, that nature sustains, maintains, and develops itself on the basis of all these three. If it is disturbed, then there are a lot of problems before us. So one should make a reflection on this thing also: bioregionalism, biodiversity, and biocentrism. Besides that, the Rita is a concept in Indian tradition. Is there in the Rigveda, and also at very many places you will find it. So it basically maintains the 5 elements: earth, water, fire, air, and ether. So earth is polluted, water is polluted, air is polluted. Fire is the one which is used for for very many purposes, and sky is also getting polluted. So one has to look at in what way we are going to protect the Rita. And if Rita is protected, then humanity is protected. Dharmo rakshati rakshita. In fact, in the Rita, we find a transition from from nature to dharma, kind of an action. Nature is a gift from the Ritas. So nature has to be protected, Rita has to be protected, and then our dharma has to be motivated on that basis. But all this information should go to the technocrats, to the bureaucrats, to the engineers who are making the planning of every kind. And every development, whatsoever it is there, it is a slow poison on earth. Gradually, it is going to create a lot of havoc on the earth. And there are very many philosophers who have worked on it. And Gandhi has created some kind of a vision on it. And then Ernest Nash has also thrown some light on it. And in Indian tradition, Vandana Shiva is doing a lot of work in that direction. And the effort should be directed towards the engineers particularly. They are the one who make planning. So with these words, I now welcome all the presenters. We have the first one, Dr. Yang Luis Debra. I think there is some issue with you, sir. Or you are okay, you are ready?
Yes, thank you very much. I will try now to see whether I can share my... Yes?
You have 10 minutes time, okay?
I see whether I can share my PowerPoint, otherwise I have sent it, therefore there is no problem.
You can only present it because PowerPoint may take some time. So you can just
Yes.
go ahead, oral presentation.
Of course, yes, of course. Well, I
please.
thank you very much, first of all, for your kind invitation. I would like to thank you very much, to thank all the members of the audience and the attendants and the organization. I would like also to say that everything is at disposal of my text and that I will send every text which I have worked on to all those who will write to my email. Now I would like to say something about these contents. In my study, I developed some ideas based on the Indian philosophical tradition in order to show the connection between the principle of reality, the divinity on the one hand, and the our reality on the other hand. The aim of my investigation consists in showing that the acknowledgement of the constant presence of the principle of reality, that is, of the divinity in the reality, how to constitute the foundation of an attitude of respect towards nature from the members of mankind for the our reality. Since the our reality is sustained by one common principle, since the divinity is present in the reality, mankind ought to arrive at the understanding that nature is not something at its disposal. Nature is not freely available for mankind. Nature is not expendable since the principle of reality is always present in it. In spite of its being beyond reality, in spite of its being superior to the reality itself as its own manifestation, the principle of reality remains present in the reality. Hence, not respecting nature means not respecting divinity. It's the same thing. The acknowledgement that the principle of reality is present in the our reality justifies a vision of the world in which the world may not be exploited, used, or destroyed, since the our world is a manifestation of the divinity. Being a manifestation of the divinity, the our reality may not be reduced to a laboratory for the individual's use and experiments. On the contrary, the our reality and all beings are to be respected and protected. Protection of the environment, therefore, respect for nature, and sustainability of the economy find a conceptual justification through thanks to the Indian philosophical tradition. For my analysis, I used passage from the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, from the Bhagavad Gita, from the Chandogya Upanishad, and from the Mandukya Upanishad. The presence of a common principle of reality in our reality will be shown and clarified through this passage. Now, for reason of time, I will limit myself to some quotations, but of course the discourse can be extended. I shall begin my analysis with a passage taken from the Chandogya Upanishad 3.14.1. Thanks to this passage, the reader can find the assertion of the presence of Brahman in the world. Brahman is the whole world. The text says, Brahman, you see, is this our world. The passage of the Chandogya Upanishad asserts, therefore, the presence of Brahman in the world. The fact that Brahman is present in all entities of the world constitutes the foundation of the idea that all entities belong to the same entity. There is no diversity between the entities of the plurality since they are all Brahman. Spirituality is present in the realm of physical entities. Physical entities depend on the same entity for their essence, for their origin, and for their continuous existence. The physical dimension is not simply a physical dimension. Nature is not simply nature. There is a principle beyond the sphere of perception who governs and dominates the out-perception sphere. The authentic foundation and dimension of reality lie beyond the sphere of perception. The dimension of nature cannot be understood unless the existence of a common principle for all nature and the presence of a common principle in all nature is acknowledged. Nature cannot be understood if the individual looks only at the nature as nature, i.e., without considering the existence of a principle connected to our nature. The individual needs a revelation in order to be able to see the apparent disconnected multiplicity of nature can be understood only through the recognition of a common principle which connects all the elements of the multiplicity with each other. The fact that on closer inspection, the reality is the manifestation of a common principle implies that mankind ought to respect the our nature since the our nature is a manifestation of the divinity. Since reality is a manifestation of the divinity, reality is not something available for mankind. Reality is not expendable, is not freely disposable. Besides, reality is not something which is extraneous to mankind. Reality is not something in comparison to which mankind can consider itself as superior or as endowed with a greater dignity or as something which is morally more relevant. Since Brahman is present in everything, there is no degree of value in the reality. The our reality equally depends on Brahman. Therefore, the our reality possesses dignity. Hence, there is no justification and no foundation for reducing nature as a kind of territory for free use, as a kind of prey, as a kind of laboratory. If every entity is Brahman, no entity exists for the free use of mankind, and no entity exists to be destroyed by mankind. Every entity deserves respect since every entity is Brahman. The individual is directly addressed as regards its essence and consequently as regards its position in the reality. In another passage, which I would like to quote, it belongs to the Chandogya Upanishad 6.8.7. And the passage tells, the finest essence here that constitutes the self of this our world, that is the true, that is the self Atman. And that's how you have Svetateguru. And similar expression are expressed in Chandogya Upanishad 6.12.3. The finest essence that constitutes the self of this our world, that is the true, that is the self. And that's how you are Svetateguru. And the following passage also of the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad 2.5.1 should not be forgotten, in my opinion. This earth is the honey of all beings, and all beings are the honey of this earth. The radiant and immortal person is the earth, and in the case of the body, Atman, the radiant and immortal person residing in the physical body, they are both oneself, Atman. It is the immortal, it is Brahman, it is the our. We can see together with the explanation expressed in the constitution of the our reality, the individual receives in these passages the explanation which expresses his own being. The individual too is the finest essence. The individual too belongs to the finest essence. The finest essence is everywhere, is everything, and the individual too is a manifestation of the finest essence. So being common to with all the other beings. The external reality is not extraneous to the individual. The individual is not reciprocally extraneous to the external nature. The individual ought to have the capacity to receive the revelation, to meditate on the application of the revelation, to organize his behavior on the basis of the revelation, and to change its attitude towards nature following revelation. A common principle is present in our reality. Reality does not consist in a plurality of entities which are not partially connected or not connected at all with each other. On the contrary, all the elements of the reality are mutually connected, since all the elements of the reality belong to one principle. The quoted passage is therefore addresses the individual, explaining what he is. He too is a product of the principle. He too belongs to this principle. His constitution too is a manifestation of the principle, and his constitution is tied to all other entities of the world as all being a manifestation of one essence. I would say that I can conclude here. Of course, there are very many aspects which deserve to be pointed out, but I can see that my time is over, and therefore I would like to thank you again very much for your invitation. And of course, everything is at disposal, and I am myself at disposal for every kind of discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thank you
sir.
very much. Please go ahead.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. That was a very well-structured talk, and we appreciate the clarity and the effort you put in. Thank you so much, sir. Now let's move forward with our next participants, Dr. Sylvia Borisova. I welcome you, ma'am.
Hello, thank you very much for your kind invitation and for the organization for this conference, which I see that is a celebration of Indian and not only Indian philosophical thought. The topic of my presentation is from aesthetic to ethical and ontological sustainability and back. Why did nature become a subject of legal protection? The beginning of the 21st century was marked by a curious conversion in man's attitude towards nature. Humans made nature a subject of legal protection. Human understanding of our relationship with nature, its elements, plants, animals, of our interconnectedness, of our shared ecosystem, is millennia old, and we find evidence of this in both Western and Eastern philosophy, metaphysics, and human sciences. In ancient Greek, oikos, which is the etymological root of the word eco, means home, but also the family and the family's house, after Aristotle's Politics. The development of culture over the centuries demonstrates an increasingly nuanced and complex relationship between man and nature. The distinction of ecology and environmentalism as fields of study, as searching for ways to more closely understand, get aware, and take care of our oikos, both as our home and our family. My thesis is that what has changed in man's attitude towards nature by making it a subject of legal protection is a quality leap in human relationship with nature, which can be traced through examining the aesthetic, ethical, and ontological aspects of this relationship, and in particular their interconnectedness in terms of sustainability. Therefore, my exposition will take as a starting point several key cases of the legitimization of nature as a subject of legal protection, in order to make a systematic analysis of this qualitative leap in the concepts of aesthetic, ethical, and ontological sustainability in regard to man-nature relationship. First, let's mark these key cases. In 28, nature officially became a subject of legal protection of the Ecuador Constitution. Article 10 of Title 2, Rights, Chapter 1, Principles for the Enforcement of Rights, states that persons, communities, peoples, nations, and are bearers of rights and shall enjoy the rights guaranteed to them in the Constitution and in international instruments. Nature shall be the subject of those rights that the Constitution recognizes for it. On their turn, Articles 78 to 74, containing in Chapter 7 Rights of Nature, are central to giving rights to nature, analogous to human rights. And it is remarkable yet that giving rights to nature dates back even earlier to the 1990s in the United States as an environmental protection strategy so that rivers could be defended from human encroachments of pollution and diversion of their flows. In particular, with the continued designation of rivers under the Wild and Scenic Rivers Act, enacted in 2022, in the ongoing debates between lawyers, legal and eco-activists, rivers unprecedentedly were conceived as legal subject with rise. The early 90s, as the environmental researcher Veronica Strang points out, gave rise as well to campaigns for legal rights for non-human primates, forests, and other rivers. In 2017, the Wanganui River in New Zealand became a natural person under domestic law after the New Zealand government responded to nearly 150 years of debate with Maori Iwis, tribes who conceived this river as an ancestral being. In the same year, the Gang and Yamuna rivers in India were also granted the same legal rights as humans by India's High Court in Uttarakhand. However, barely a few months later, Supreme Court of India overturned this decision due to practical and legal concerns raised by the state government. Another attempt to confer rights to a river was that of the Atrato River in Colombia. Another curious example of seeking for ecological sustainability with non-human species living in non-living nature is the French law aimed at defining and protecting the Do you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
We are hearing you.
Sorry, because there's some noise and.
Yeah.
Okay. I will continue.
Yes, muted.
So this law is aimed at defining and protecting the sensory heritage of the French countryside, like cicada sound, manner of lavender smell, etc. Both the types of cases authorizing legal rights to nature, including its species, elements, and ecosystems in the first type, and the natural environment of human sensorium in the second type, show in a quite expressive manner that something has qualitatively changed in the relationship of man and nature. On the one hand, we have all these eloquent examples of living in integral respect for nature and its species for centuries, like cattle, which is considered sacred in a row of Indian religions like Hinduism, Buddhism, and Jainism, like monkeys, which are revered in Thailand due to the Hindu or Buddhist deity Hanuman, or like cats, which are protected in Italy not only because of their sacredness in the Empire age related to the goddess Diana and the cult of Isis, but because in all probability they were one of the key factors for saving the country from the bubonic plague in the Middle Ages. On the other hand, what has broken in this natural relationship and coexistence, we explicitly can read in the Ecuador Constitution, which articles about nature's right arouse from man's disrespect, causing harmful environmental consequences like destruction of ecosystems, alteration of natural cycles, etc. If in all past eras man and nature have existed in interconnectedness, togetherness, and harmony despite all the elements and natural cataclysms, then in the era of the Anthropocene, or also the so-called Anthropocene, placing nature and its species, elements, and ecosystems under legal protection categorically means two things. First, this move towards including nature with its species, elements, and ecosystems as a subject of legal protection on an equal footing with man confirms its perception by man as an integral part of or integral continuation of his human world. Yet, second, his move also means that in traditional law, the regulation of relations between two legal subjects or entities is established when it is not possible for them to come to an agreement on their own without the intervention of a third party. In the same way, in the man-nature relationship, a third party must appear so that man is finally able to realize that nature is our forgotten foundation, and what laws does is actually only regulate our fragmented and broken unity. And I will go to the second section because my time is short. According to Routledge Encyclopedia of Philosophy, sustainability is a property of any activity, practice, process, or institution that has the capacity to be continued in more or less the same way indefinitely, where it is explicitly mentioned that the concept's rise to prominence in recent decades is due to the realization that continued social and economic development may not be sustainable in view of the unprecedented environmental changes that it brings about. In the sustainability debate of recent years, three major directions of reconsidering man-nature relationship in interconnectedness can be discerned that intertwine with each other: the aesthetic, the ethical, and the ontological. One And the aesthetic key in conclusion and in sustainability are consisting of 5 key elements according to Korpelainen and Lechtingen. Subjective experience as the core element of aesthetic experience based on perception, aesthetic values as socially contested notions of experience quality, functionality, environmental or ecological sustainability, and relation to time. This aesthetic key in reconsidering sustainability in the contemporary culture, wrought by digitalization technologies, the economic dictate of accelerated growth, and the idea of disembodied and devastated human in the middle of all this, can serve as a crucial point to fundamentally reconsidering and rethinking environmental and ecological well-being and our both personal and collective care of our oikos. Firstly, in the context of bodily and sensory ecology, and secondly, in the context of ethical duty and ontological responsibility to keep safe not only our own well-being, but also that of our home, of nature. As the Polish philosopher Roman Ingarden states, responsibility is always ontic, and man's ontological responsibility has always its ontic roots in values. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sylvia, for sharing your insightful research with us. Thank you so much. Any questions? If any participants want to ask questions to Dr. Sylvia. Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. So let's move forward towards our third participants from Manipur. That is Dr. Panjudam Nongpo. Dr. Kondojam,
Sure.
welcome, sir. Welcome.
Okay. Well, let me begin with this slide. Can you see my slide, please?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
It's visible.
Good afternoon. Yeah, okay. Good afternoon, respected Dr. Ragendra Pratap Singh, Dean Faculty of Humanities and Religious Studies, Guru Nanak Dev University, Amritsar, and he's a former professor, Center for Philosophy, School of Social Sciences, JNU. My topic is very much pertinent as the time as we're facing nowadays. We have been facing, very much hard on the climate change. So my topic is Hindu ecology and the climate change and a philosophical inquiry. Now look, I'll begin with the introduction. Climate change has become the most critical global issue of 21st century. The rise in global temperatures, melting glaciers, loss of forests, decline in biodiversity, and frequent extreme weather are the signs of a severe global crisis. The crisis is deeply rooted in human values or moral perspectives and underlying philosophical views regarding the connection between people and natural world. Now here, I would like to refer to ICPR-1st, Man and Nature, was the first work to describe in detail man's destructiveness of his ignorant, disregard of the law of nature, and even Darwin, idea of survival of the fittest, encouraged him to struggle against and dominate nature. And one more, let me refer to Freud when further suggesting that humanity should attack nature and force it to obey human will through science. Okay, next thing, there's a widest must challenge to develop a new ethics that is not only ecologically, but also spiritually based on a value that speaks of man's responsibility towards himself, toward nature, toward other fellow men, and toward God. Now, there are two views that I have, I have thought about it. In terms of human relationship, say, anthropocentric and holistic. Now, what is anthropocentric here? That man as the master of the universe, with the right to treat nature in whatever way he chooses. And man is, as nature is being instrumental, in terms of anthropocentric ideas or perspective. This view has been dominant in history, and at times it has been regarded as a catalyst for technological development. And the latter, however, emphasizes man's responsibility to what nature, man has the dominion over nature. Instead, he's a steward to serve and manage nature with care. Next slide. Now let me come to Hindu philosophy. A little bit more, intriguing part. Hindu philosophy presents a profound source of ecological wisdom. It doesn't see nature only as a source for human use, but as something sacred, connected, and filled with divine presence. The Vedas and Upanishads and the Bhagavad Gita present a worldview where humans, animals, plants, rivers, and mountains live in mutual dependence and harmony. As Sir R.P. Singh talks, before the in this very conference, it talks about biocentrism and then again the Indian, ecology. Now here, I'm putting that right here, the concept of Ratha, or the cosmic order, stresses balance and harmony. Principles like ahimsa, that's non-violence. Then say aparagriha, that is non-possession. It is compassion, self-control, and responsibility toward all living beings. Now, these ideas connect closely with today's call for sustainability, ecological justice, and climate ethics. Now, this is my objective. I have set up two objectives precisely here. The first thing, it explores the philosophical roots of Hindu ecology by looking at scriptures and a key idea that express an ecological way of life. And the other objective is it connects these insights with today's climate ethics, which links them to issues like sustainability and global responsibility. In this way, the study shows why non-Western traditions should also be included in the wider philosophical discussion on climate change. Now here comes the main argument. Now this paper argues that Hindu ecology is more than just showing respect for nature through symbols. It offers a clear philosophical framework that emphasizes interdependence, ethical responsibility, and respect for the natural world. Now these values are significant today as climate change requires not only new technology, but also moral change and a new way of thinking about humanity's relationship with the earth. These are my arguments. And coming back to the Hindu ecological view, the Hindu view of ecology is based on sacred texts, ideas that see the universe as wholly interconnected. And these say the Vedas and Upanishads and the Bhagavad Gita explain how humans should relate to nature. Along with certain values such as Ratha, that's cosmic order, ahimsa, that I said already, non-violence, and dharma, that's a duty. They provide the framework for an ecological philosophy that teaches living in balance with self-control and responsibility toward the environment. The Vedas, being the oldest Hindu text, contain many hymns that show deep reverence for nature. For example, the Prithvi Sukta in the Atharva Veda praises the earth as a nurturing mother, highlighting the close relationship between people and the land. Next slide. The Upanishad teach us everything in the world is connected and filled with the divine. The Isha Upanishad says, God is present in all things. Isha Vashyam Idam Sarvam. Now, the Bhagavad Gita connects ecological sensibilities with ethical action. The Gita also teaches about dharma, or duty, which means living in line with the cosmic order, which can be extended to include ecological responsibility. Then, see, responsibility and Ratha. I'm just trying to compare between these two things here. The idea of Ratha highlights the connection and balance that support all life. It makes environmental responsibility not just a practical need, but also a moral and spiritual duty. Indian rishis had followed the dharma of nature and the Ratha of cosmos by accepting and following the nature of things and had not sought to disturb nature by artificial means. And next slide, sustainability and aparigraha. Now, these two terms, the principle of aparigraha or non-possession, challenges the wasteful consumption habits that fuel the climate change. The aparigraha promotes simple and moderate living and taking only what is needed, which supports sustainability by reducing our impact on the environment. In this way, it offers a cultural and philosophical basis for encouraging sustainable development. The next slide is justice and ahimsa. Now, these two concepts here, ahimsa, non-violence, is not only about human relationships, but also about caring for the environment. And applying ahimsa to climate ethics emphasizes minimizing harm and protecting the most vulnerable, whether they are marginalized communities, endangered species, or maybe fragile ecosystem. Now, it provides a moral foundation for climate justice movements that call for equitable distribution of burdens and benefits. The next slide is global ethics and dharma. The principle of dharma highlights duties and responsibilities that go beyond individuals or nations. Climate change is about caring for future generations. Let me remind here, I would like to refer to intergenerational justice here, basically. So unlike rights-based approaches in global climate talks, a dharma view stretches shared responsibility, encouraging cooperation and joint action. But this focus on responsibility instead of entitlement can help reduce conflicts in climate politics. Next, now critical appraisal and limitation. There are certain, say appraisal and limitation in Hindu ecology as well. So Hindu ecology is often over-idealized as a green religion, and some authors talk about it. And so traditions honor rivers, forests, and mountains, but realities differ. That is, say the Ganga, the Yamuna, as one scholar, maybe one faculty talk about it. Ganga and Jamuna are highly polluted. Deforestation is sacred, areas. Romanticization can hide real causes of environmental damage like urbanization, industrial growth, and population pressure. Hindu ecological ideas are valuable philosophical resources, but they require critical and practical application, not blind idealization. Now, this is what I think in my certain appraisal in this case. Then again, toward a critical integration. Now, in this particular slide, I'm just trying to talk about a critical integration here. Hindu ecology is valuable for climate ethics when used with critical.
You are not audible.
Dr. Kondajam, are you there?
Sorry, I think he's got some issues.
Yes, sir. I also think that he has left due to some technical reasons. So can we start with the next presentation?
There is one Rajni, she wants to say something perhaps.
Yes. Rajni ma'am? Rajni ma'am, do you want to ask something? I think she has done it by mistake.
Okay, we'll go to the next.
Yes, sir. So next I invite Dr. Abu Zafar Ahmed. Dr. Abu Zafar Ahmed, please come and share your presentation with us.
What about Anamika? She is not there?
Yes, sir, sorry. The next person in the sequence is Miss Anamika Chatterjee. Miss Anamika.
She was here.
Yes, she was here earlier. She might be trying to share her slide with us. She has unmuted herself. Anamika ma'am, can you hear us?
So we can go to Dr. Abu Zahar.
Okay, sir.
Abu Zafar.
So I invite Dr. Abu Zafar Ahmed to please share his presentation with us. Meanwhile, Madam Anamika will set her slides.
Thank you, ma'am. Respected Chairperson, Ravindra Singh ji, course coordinator, Manpreet Kaur, and my dear friends, good afternoon to everybody. My paper is Ecological Responsibility in Indian Philosophy, a study of concept of dharma. So I'm going to present my paper. The contemporary global environmental crisis marked by climate change, biodiversity loss, deforestation, resource depletion, and pollution has necessitated urgent reflection on the relationship between human beings and nature. While modern scientific and technological approaches attempt to mitigate ecological degradation, philosophical tradition provide ethical and metaphysical framework for rethinking humanity's responsibility towards the natural world. In this context, Indian philosophy, with its profound emphasis on interconnectedness, harmony, and the moral imperative of dharma, offers valuable insight into ecological responsibilities. In Indian philosophy, the concept of dharma is a complex and multifaceted principle that transcends mere duty or law, rooted in the Vedic and Upanishadic tradition and further elaborated in the epics, smritis, and classical philosophical system of India. Dharma denotes the order that sustains both individual life and cosmic whole. It compasses righteousness, moral duty, social order, and cosmic balance. From an ecological standpoint, dharma can be interpreted as an ethical orientation that recognizes the intrinsic value of nature and obligates human beings to live in balance with their environment. Thus, ecological responsibility is not an external imposition, but an intrinsic dimension of dharmic living. Some of the Indian philosophical system underscore this relationship between dharma and ecology. The Vedic hymns portray the earth, rivers, mountain, and the forest as sacred entities worthy of reverence and protection. The Upanishad advanced the vision of Brahma as the ultimate unity, in which
You are not audible, Dr. Jafar. Some network issue, I think.
Dr. Zafar,
Excuse me, sir. I would like to ask one question because when I was presenting my paper, perhaps it was complete or not. Somebody disrupted my presentation.
No, please, Dr. Jafar is online, so let him finish first.
Right.
There it seems there's some issues with him.
Right, sir.
We don't know. Can you telephonically contact him if you have his number? Dr. Manpreet, can you contact him telephonically if possible?
Sir, I'll try.
Yeah, if you have his number, because if not possible, then we can invite Anamika. She has just joined.
So, shall we wait for Dr. Abu Zafar, or we should
No,
continue
no,
with?
let's invite Anamika. She is here. I think she is ready
Yes,
also.
Yes, sir, I'm ready. Sir.
Yes. Over to you, Anamika ma'am.
Yeah. Very good afternoon to all of you. Respected RP Singh sir, Hindu College. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to present my paper. The title of my paper is Inculcating Values for Sustainability and Environmental Well-being, Ecological Insights from the Bhagavad Gita. As we all know that human beings uphold an integral relationship with nature. Both are interdependent on each other for their existence. Nature provides humanity with various resources to live a noble life. But despite such magnanimous and selfless contribution of the environment, human beings pay less heed on their responsibility towards the nature. Unfortunately, in the contemporary times, humanity is facing serious environmental challenges, including deforestation, climate change, pollution, global warming, for which human beings can be held responsible to a large extent. At the outset of this global crisis, there is a need to reflect on our moral duties and responsibilities towards our environment. Our Indian knowledge system looks into both human well-being and environmental well-being. It encourages us to believe that they cannot be looked in alienation from each other, but in complementary to each other. Here, we will look into how the Bhagavad Gita weaves our traditional knowledge with modern issues. So, the present paper argues that the Bhagavad Gita offers insightful philosophical discernments on moral living. It encourages us to reflect on our action towards the environment to nurture the interconnectedness of all lives. It offers solutions to the contemporary environmental challenges. Before going to the solutions and the moral values that are embedded in the Bhagavad Gita concerning the sustainability and environmental well-being, let us understand and reflect into the root cause of the destruction of nature. What causes the obliteration of the environment? What compels human beings to disregard our nature? A philosophical analysis would reveal that the primary reason for the destruction of nature is the human desire to acquire more. Sri Krishna in Bhagavad Gita calls desire as the eternal enemy of wisdom. It is insatiable like fire. This desire creates a mental delusion that undermines human beings' ability to distinguish between right and wrong. And further, this delusion leads us to egoism, ahankar, which induces human beings to believe themselves to be the supreme authority of the universe. Now, this egoism leads us to the non-violence, hinsa, and give rise to selfishness, where human beings prioritize their own benefits above all else. Human beings harm the environment, including animals, plants, climate, either voluntarily or involuntarily. Now, the question that arises here is how these vices should be addressed such that they can be transformed into virtues and encourage the practice of moral values promoting sustainability and environmental well-being. The Bhagavad Gita encourages human beings to perform their actions with a sense of noble purpose. Man ought to do his or her action with a responsibility and in an altruistic manner. Sri Krishna calls such action a yajna, sacrifice. To be precise, here sacrifice does not merely means oblations or offerings to God, but it denotes that every good action performed in an altruistic spirit should be taken as covered by the term sacrifice. It is the dharma or the moral duty of a human being to act in such a manner.
An action that is driven by a sense of dharma encourages one to take the responsibility themselves for conserving natural resources and protecting the diversity of life on earth in a constructive manner. And it is only possible if we perform our actions selflessly. It is essential to note here that Sri Krishna encouraged selfless actions because they are free from superfluous desires. They are performed for action's sake. Such action lead us to what Sri Krishna considered nishkam karma, action without desire or attachment. A nishkam karma yogi is one who performs without attachment to results. He contributes greatly to nurturing the greater good of the earth. He or she supports green practices because they ought to do it for sustaining a greener planet that will invariably be beneficial for the present and future generation. It means a detached action brings good not only to oneself but to the world. This leads us to an important notion in the Bhagavad Gita, that is the concept of Loka Sangraha. Loka Sangraha means an action driven towards the common good. It's a common good oriented action rather than an action laden with self-interest. The concept of Loka Sangraha encourages living in harmony with the environment. It provides a moral rationale for thoughtful consumption of natural resources and protects the environment by circumventing unnecessary activities that can lead to pollution and contamination. So a sustainable environment is based on an interdependent relation between animate and inanimate beings, and Bhagavad Gita upholds this relation comprehensively. This Bhagavad Gita, which considers everything as divine, it considers this world to be a part of that whole. The sacred text empowers human beings to believe in the supreme fact and to instill values that enable them to uphold environmental well-being. At the end, I would like to just say that the moral value of the text encourages human beings to nurture their relationship with the environment. The paper intended to highlight the sacred vision of the text and attempted to analyze it from an ecological perspective. It attempted for a modern articulation of ancient thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Anamika ma'am. So that was a wonderful lecture presented by Madam Anamika. So dear participants, if you have any queries regarding this presentation, you may ask Ma'am Anamika. Okay. Then let's move forward towards our next participant, Mr. Susant Sabar. Is Mr. Susant Sabar here from Odisha? Sir, I think he has left the meeting. Okay. Next participant is Miss Rinki Mahalik.
Yes, ma'am.
Rinki ma'am, you may proceed with your presentation.
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon, everyone, respected chairperson. And today, my name, before going to discuss, let me introduce myself. My name is Rinki Mahalik, and currently I am working as a lecturer in laws and philosophy in Narsinghpur College and Nursing. And my paper title is that Environmental Spirituality and Sacred Ecology, Reclaiming Human Responsibility for Sustainable Features. And the paper is explaining that environmental crisis cannot be solved by technology or policy alone. Need for a deeper orientation of human thought and practice. The core argument of my paper is that spirituality and sacred ecology offer philosophical and ethical resources for rethinking human-nature relations. And ecological responsibility should be grounded in spiritual values, rituals, and traditions. So what do you mean by environmental spirituality and sacred ecology? That environmental spirituality, we mean that ethical and philosophical frameworks that sacralize nature, embedding ecological responsibility within spiritual worldviews and practices. When you discuss sacred ecology, it refers to the complex of knowledge, practice, and belief that local communities develop to maintain ecological balance. And I'm talking about the crisis. And the crisis is that climate change, biodiversity loss, pollution, resource depletion. And it addresses that technology and policy alone is inadequate to address this crisis. And the crisis is not about environmental, it also a crisis of values and worldviews. And anthropocentrism plus consumerism is an alienation from nature. And I also bring two comparative philosophical framework, that is Indian traditions and global traditions. In the Indian traditions, I address Advaita Vedanta, Jain, Buddhist, and sacred groups. In the global tradition, I address Christian philosophy, Islamic philosophy, and Native American eco-spirituality. When I address Advaita Vedanta school, I bring the concept of non-duality, where Atman equal to Brahman, and it picturize that harming nature is equal as harming self. And from the philosophy of Jainism, that I bring the concept of ahimsa and aparigraha. Ahimsa and aparigraha is the non-violence and non-possession. It extends moral oath to all beings, from smallest microorganisms to human life. In the school of Buddhist, I bring the two concepts, that interdependence, the patitta samutpada, and interbeing. And interbeing stress interconnectedness, and Pratitta Samutpada is affirmed that nothing exists in isolation. And sacred groups, where it is a community-based conservation, it acts as a reservoirs of biodiversity and water resources, not because of external enforcement, but through internalized cultural and spiritual norms. And in the form of global traditions, I bring the concept of stewardship from Christianity, that till and care, earth care, not domination. Creation is God's gift entrusted to humanity as a caretaker. In the Islam, that Khalifa, the trustship concept, is explains that humans accountable for earth's balance, and humans are appointed as God's vicegerents by Khalifa Allah on earth. And from the concept of Native American point of view, that earth equal to kin. All my relations is radical relationality. Earth is not property of but a living relative. And I also bring some contemporary ecological philosophies, such as deep ecology, where all beings have intrinsic value, and it rejects anthropocentrism and calls for an ecological self. And
Ms.
from
Rinki,
the
kindly, ma'am, your presentation is not working. It's not sliding. Presentation.
okay, so let me check.
So kindly slideshow. Slideshow, ma'am. Please go to the menu.
It's not visible. Hello.
Ma'am, you can press F5 key. F5, function key F5. You can click it from, press it from the keyboard. F5.
Yes, ma'am.
You can press the key F5.
Now it's functioning.
No,
not.
no, ma'am. It's
Yes, ma'am.
still not
pressed
working.
it. Okay.
Or you can select from the menu on the top, slideshow. On the red bar, red title bar, you can see the option slideshow. On the top of your
Ma'am, it's
screen,
not
there's an option slideshow. Ma'am, it's quite visible. It's adjacent to the animations slideshow. Your screen, red, I can see the red title bar.
Sorry, I'm not getting your point right now.
Yes, ma'am.
Right now?
Just move,
Is
no,
it
no,
visible?
ma'am. Move down on home, then next insert, then In the same row, please click on slideshow. And there
Ma'am, it's not functioning, I think, in the...
Ma'am, I can see your cursor. Please move your cursor on the red title
Yeah.
bar. Red bar. There is a written slideshow in the middle of the options. In the middle, there is written animations and slideshow.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Please click on slideshow. And then from beginning.
Now it's selected or...
From beginning.
Yes, ma'am.
Now you
Yeah,
may
right now
move
it's
forward.
visible?
Uh,
Yes, ma'am.
Not
Is it
yet.
visible or not?
Kindly refresh. Click again from beginning. Kindly
Just wait, ma'am. Let me
click on the
stop sharing,
option
then
from
after that
beginning.
Yes, ma'am.
Kindly reshare your screen again. Yes, ma'am. Now please click
Yes,
on
ma'am.
from
But
beginning.
it's not functioning. It's not functioning right now. I don't know.
Okay. Okay, ma'am. Then you may continue with.
Yeah, let her continue with that.
Yes.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, thank you. Okay, so I'll start from global traditions, and as I mentioned that I gave a comparative philosophical perceptions. That is, one is Indian traditions, another is global traditions. And in global traditions, I explained that Christianity, the stewardship, that where the tell and keep that earth. Care, not domination. Creation is God's gift entrusted to humanity as caretakers. In Islam, there is the trusteeship concept as brings, and humans accountable for Earth's balance. Humans are appointed as God's vicegerent on the earth. And from the Native American philosophical concept that earth is kin, all my relations, that radical rationality, and earth is not property but a living relative. So I also bring some concept of contemporary ecological philosophies. I addressed deep ecology, where all beings have intrinsic value, and it rejects anthropocentrism and calls for an ecological self. And ecofeminism, where it critiques that oppression of women as well as exploitation of nature. And it situates that environmental ethics within the context of questions of justice, care, and embodied spirituality. And in the field of phenomenology of nature, nature as a living relational field, nature not as an object of human mastery, but as a living field of intersubjectivity. The key finding of my paper is that sacred ecology challenges anthropocentrism, human-centered worldview, and humans are part of the web of life, not master of it. And rituals, seasonal rites, and cultural practices hold ecological wisdom. And spiritual awareness encourages restraint, that limiting consumerism, and ecological sensitivity, daily responsibility toward nature. And both the key idea is that environmental spirituality is equal to that nature is sacred with ethical and spiritual responsibility, and sacred ecology is that local knowledge plus belief plus practice sustain balance. The core values is that in both the concept that responsibility, reciprocity, and restraint. There is also some practices of sacred ecology, that is rituals and seasonal rites in the form of harvest festivals, water rituals, and forest taboos. And mindfulness on spiritual awareness also are there in the form of restraint. It will be held to restraint, ecological sensitivity, non-consumerist life. And responsibility is about part of identity, not just law. And it also explains the critical perspective. In the critical perspective, it says that sacred ecology not always inclusive. Sometimes sacred groups sometimes exclude Dalits and Adivasis, and sacred rivers used in nationalist and majoritarian projects. So must integrate with justice, caste, and gender sensitivity. And the conclusion part of my paper is that environmental spirituality is not just tradition, it's a vital resource today. By reviving sacred ecological practices and mindfulness, we can build sustainable futures rooted in ethics, spirituality, and philosophy. Sacred ecology, living in ethical and spiritual practices, and reorients human form dominators, participants in web of life. So vital for sustainable and inclusive futures. So spiritual ecology is that holistic framework for sustainability, cultural vitality, social justice, and intergenerational responsibility. So environmental spirituality reclaims human responsibility, and it integrates ethics, spirituality, and justice for sustainability. So framework is that reciprocity, interdependence, and care. So the paper is saying that this reclamation of responsibility is not about returning to a nostalgic past, but about creatively retrieving and representing spiritual, ecological insights for present and future sustainability challenges. And this is all about my paper. Thank you. Am I audible?
Yes.
Excuse me, ma'am. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. I'm done.
Okay, Rinki ma'am. Thank you so much, Rinki ma'am. Thank you so much, Ms. Rinki Mahale, for sharing her insightful research with us. So next I would like to call our next participant, Dr. Arun Garg.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, sir.
Just give me a few seconds to share my presentation.
Sure, sir. Take your time, please.
Is my presentation visible now?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
It's working.
Okay. Thank you. Respected chair, respected session moderator, fellow paper presenters, and distinguished scholars. My name is Dr. Arun Garg. I'm currently a faculty at the PG Department of Philosophy, Gaya College, Gaya, which is a constituent unit of Magad University, Bodh Bihar. The title of my paper is Prakriti and Purusha, Insights from Sankhya Philosophy on Ecological Balance. Modern ecological crises require a re-examination of humanity's relationship with nature. Western philosophies, with their roots in Cartesian dualism, often view nature as inert and exploitable. Sankhya, an ancient Indian philosophy, challenges this view, seeing nature as sentient and purposeful. It offers an alternate dualistic perspective of Prakriti, that is nature, and Purusha, that is consciousness. This paper proposes integrating Sankhya's wisdom on ecological balance and sustainable development, arguing that its principles can guide and shape contemporary environmental ethics. Let me just say a few things about the philosophical roots of ecological crises. The 21st century is defined by the Anthropocene, where human activity is the dominant influence on climate and environment. This era is marked by unprecedented ecological degradation, a direct consequence of a worldview that frames nature as a mere collection of external, inert resources to be exploited for human ends. The historical roots of our ecological crises are deeply embedded in the instrumentalist and reductionist perspective of Western worldview, which has severed mind from body and humanity from nature. In seeking alternatives, environmental philosophers and deep ecologists have increasingly turned to non-Western wisdom traditions that offer cosmologies emphasizing interdependence, intrinsic value, and the sacredness of the natural world. Insights from Sankhya philosophy. Sankhya, one of the 6 schools of orthodox Indian philosophy, and attributed to the ancient sage Kapila, provides a rigorous analytical framework for understanding the nature of reality, the cause of suffering, and the path to liberation. Sankhya posits that the universe arises from the dynamic interplay between Prakriti, the ever-changing material reality composed of three gunas, that is Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas, and Purusha, the passive yet conscious observer. The detachment of Purusha from Prakriti is not an escape from nature, but a call for mindful engagement free from exploitative desires. The metaphysical foundations. Sankhya's metaphysical structure holds immense potential for constructing a robust ecological philosophy. Prakriti is the ultimate uncaused cause of the material universe. By reconceiving the world not as dead matter, but as the active, sentient, and purposeful play of Prakriti, Sankhya provides the ontological grounding for an ethics of respect, reciprocity, and balance. At the same time, Purusha is presented as pure and passive consciousness, which is different from mind, intellect, or ego, as these are the later evolutes of Prakriti. Purusha is the witness or sakshi and the enjoyer or bhokta, yet utterly inactive and unchanged. This distinction is vital for ecology as it severs the identification of consciousness with the human individual or ego alone and allows for its presence in all life forms. The evolution of the tattvas. Prakriti in its primordial, uninvolved state is in perfect equilibrium. Evolution begins when this equilibrium is disturbed through the proximity of Purusha. Sankhya Karika poetically describes this process through a metaphor. For the sake of the liberation of Purusha and for the sake of seeing of Prakriti, the conjunction of the two proceeds like that of a lame man and a blind man. This metaphor is profoundly ecological as it suggests the universe emerges from a symbiotic relationship where Purusha provides the purpose while Prakriti provides the means. The cosmos is not a mistake, an illusion, or Maya, as in some interpretations of Advaita Vedanta, but it is a real, purposeful, and teleological evolution for the sake of liberation. The process of evolution of the unfolding of 23 principles of tattvas from Prakriti. This cosmology presents a deeply interconnected and hierarchical structure of reality, where each level emerges from and is dependent on the previous one. The first tattva to emerge from Prakriti is Mahat, or intellect, followed by Ahamkara, or the principle of individuation or ego. This ego sees itself separate from nature as its enjoyer or controller. This fundamental misidentification lies at the root of all suffering or dukkha, and by extension, ecological alienation. From Ahamkara, under the influence of the three gunas, evolution bifurcates into Sattvic Ahamkara and Tamasic Ahamkara. From Sattvic Ahamkara emerges 11 organs or indriyas, and from Tamasic Ahamkara emerges Tanmatras and Mahabhutas. I won't go into detail of these since we have less time. But I would just say the schema is not merely a psychological or cosmological map. It is an ontological statement about the nature of the physical world. The human body, the animal body, the tree, the river, and the mountain are all constituted of the same fundamental principles, the same Mahabhutas. This establishes a radical ontological continuity between humans and the natural world. The dynamics of gunas. The theory of the three gunas is perhaps Sankhya's most significant contribution to the ecological ethos. The gunas are not static components, but dynamic interdependent forces that permeate all of manifested reality. Every phenomenon, from a thought to a hurricane, from a cell to an ecosystem, is a particular combination of Sattva, Rajas, and Tapas. In nature, Sattva acts as the principle of harmony, Rajas as the principle of activity, and Tamas as the principle of inertia. An ecosystem's health can be understood as a balanced interplay of these three forces. A forest exhibits a sattvic stability, but it is maintained by rajasic processes of growth and tamasic processes of decay that recycle nutrients. The current ecological crisis can be diagnosed as a severe gunic imbalance, an excess of rajasic exploitative human activity, fueled by a tamasic ignorance of ecological interconnectedness, overwhelming the sattvic balancing intelligence of the biosphere. Restoration ecology, from this view, is the conscious application of sattva to rebalance the rajasic and tamasic extremes of degradation. Sankhya environmental ethics. Sankhya environmental ethics is not prescriptive, but it can help change our perspective towards nature. It challenges Cartesian mechanical worldview. If nature is intelligent and purposeful, our relationship with it becomes one of participation and not domination. The ego's belief in its separateness and supremacy lies at the root of ecological crisis. If consciousness of Purusha is present in all life forms, then the world is teeming with subjects, not just objects. Liberation or Kaivalya is the ultimate goal of Sankhya. It's precisely the discernment that in each self of Purusha is distinct from both the ego and from nature and Prakriti. Hindu Dharma is to live in a way that supports the teleology of Prakriti, that is liberation of all beings. This makes practice of ahimsa as the only appropriate way which supports the flourishing of all life forms. Ethics and contemporary relevance. Sankhya in its classical form has been criticized for its apparent world negation. However, we find that the negation is of identification and not of existence. Prakriti is not only real, but it possesses full ontological dignity. It offers a non-theistic ontology-based foundation and purpose of existence. And minimization of tamasic waste and pollution. In conclusion, the ecological imbalance we face is psychological imbalance, a catastrophic misconception of who we are and what the world is. Sankhya philosophy performs a vital task of correcting this and Prakriti, the evolution of the tattvas, and the This map reveals a universe that is single, unfolding, intelligent process, that is Prakriti, within which exists countless centers of to engage with Prakriti, that is the
I think there are some issues with network. Dr. Arun, you are not audible. I think this is done.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Dr. Garag. And next, I would like to invite
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Sushant Sabar to kindly come and present. Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, Chairperson and all the participants in online. I, Sushant Sabar from Khatikan Institute of Social Sciences, KISS, deemed to be University, Bhubaneswar, Odisha. My research topic on philosophy of tribal relation, a perspective. Okay. Introduction to my topic is philosophy of tribal relation is complex blend of belief, practice, and culture in indigenous community, which rooted in nature, ancestral, and communal values, which guides daily life through spiritual and ritualistic framework. Importance of study is it helps us to understand unique worldview of indigenous groups, which shows influence of tribal beliefs on modernity and globalization by enhancing their cultural and spiritual significance. Philosophically understanding its idea is reverence for nature and the sacred, emphasis on ancestral traditions, strong communal spirituality. In evolution, to comparison is that tribal religion evolve with the social and environmental change, which saves similarities and differences with organized religion. Offer broader understanding of spirituality across spiritual culture. In modern changes, if we are looking into that preservation of traditions threatened by modernizations, which need to continue research and documentation by balancing ancestral culture, ancestral customs with global change. Essential of tribal religion is that offer diverse perspectives on culture, spirituality, and endurance, which expressed understanding of cultural pluralism by providing insight into indigenous beliefs, practice, and values. Heritage and preservation is that many traditions are at risk due to the industrialization and globalization, which impacts that of recording language, customs, and rituals to enhance respect for unique legacy. Ecological knowledge is that deep ecological wisdom in tribal religion is stress on interdependence of all life, promotes respect for natures, can inspire modern sustainability practices. Belief and practices is that nature views as sacred spirits in natural features. Reliance on oral traditions, myth, stories, strong rituals. Worship includes God spirits and ancestors, which strengthens family bonds and generation continuity. In adaptation of continuity is organized deeply tied to historical experiences, religions, adaptation to cultural, intellectual, and ecological changes, maintain essential identity while ever living. Philosophical foundation of tribal culture and religion is that belief can be traditional without connected evidence. Crucial in religious faith, moral commitment, life-changing choice. Beliefs profoundly influence human experience and behavior. Rituals and social context. Rituals express and sustain beliefs. Practices occurs within shaped social and linguistic settings, strengthening community identity and continuity, which bridges between belief, culture, and daily life. Nature as sacred practice, according to Eastern view, traditional Vedic Earth, cosmic ecological order, harmony with nature. Advaita Vedanta speaks that unit of Atman and Brahman, and followed by Samkhya, distinction between Prakriti and Purusha. Hereby, according to nature of sacred practice in Western view, pre-Socratic speaks that harmony in nature. There's philosophers called Thales, Heraclitus, and Pythagoras speaks on harmony in nature. And Plato and Aristotle followed by nature as a theological and ethical guidelines. And end of this, Spinoza speaks that God is nature, nature is God. Nature as sacred practice according to traditional view is that mountains, rivers, trees, animals, sins as spiritual being ancestors, honored through oral traditions, festivals, offerings. Example, Adivasi, Native Americans, and Aboriginal Australians followed this tradition. Spirituality, according to structure to traditional religion, is that comparison to this religion, according to Hinduism, that moksha by yoga, bhakti, karma, and jnana. And Buddhism speaks that inner transformations, meditation, freedom from dukkha. And Christianity followed that living in Christ, sanctification, personal relations with God. And Buddhism, Islamism speaks that closeness to divine. And that what is I'm speaking in on traditional religion is that indigenous tradition harmony with ancestral nature, social ecological balance. Influence on art and rituals is that in traditional religion, art and rituals influences experience of beliefs, spirituality, identity. Sacredness art is symbolic depiction of God's spirit and cosmic order. Rituals embodies practices of faith and culture. Music, dance, offering, symbolic gestures, marks traditions and sustain cosmic order. Case study that I have done is Saura indigenous community among oldest tribal group in South Asia, Odisha and Andhra Pradesh, known for iconic iconographic wall painting and ceremonial murals. Art dialogues with the sacred, not mere decoration, rather than guided by the religious professionals, that is called Kudans, as intermediator. Comparative analysis core differences is that world religion and tribal religion speaks that world religion monotheistics, they are known as Christianity and Islam, or polytheistics with qualified text Hinduism, backed by doctrine and sacred scripture. In tribal religion, often polytheistics, animism, ancestor and first belief ties to local culture and environmentals. Rituals and cosmology is that tribal rituals community based tied to agriculture and season and ancestors emphasize cyclical nature of life. World religion focus on salvation, rebirth, afterlife in linear frameworks of for individuals, communal, but it's prescribed format. Contemporary issue threads is that.
Excuse me, sir. Please try
Yes,
to
ma'am.
conclude.
Yes,
Please
ma'am.
try to conclude, sir.
Okay, ma'am. In conclusion, tribal religion devises indigenous customs, practices tied to place and culture, offer unique perspective on human conditions and environment, address modernization issues, culture, erosion, ecological threats, colonialism, promotes respects, dialogues, and cross-cultural understanding. Philosophical doctrines emphasize more responsibility and harmony with nature. Preservation requires justice of community, scholar, state, and global actors. Enrich human wisdom and spirituality for future generation. With this, I conclude my research topic.
Sushant,
Thank you,
sir,
ma'am.
you are not audible.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, with this, I concluded my research.
Thank you. Thank you. So, Manpreet, what do you suggest? Should I say something?
So thanks, Mr. Sushant Sabar. Thanks for sharing your ideas with us. Over to you, RP Singh, sir. Because
Yes,
Dr.
some
Gondajam was
some participants have raised the hands.
इथों डिस्कनेक्ट कर दो दी बैटरी ऑफ हो गई डिस्कनेक्ट कर दो इथों ब्लूटूथ स्पीकर के वापस
Okay. So let me just say a few words. So, in fact, there have been 8 presentations taking up, 8 different issues concerning environment, sustainability, raising the issues regarding development and everything else. And almost all the presentations were rich in content and intent, and in a way they have complemented also with one another. And but the point of emphasis has been different one. So in the first presentation by Dr. G. Segala, basically he emphasized on the notion of reality, and it's really a contested concept in the sense that if we look at the dictionary meaning of the term reality, it means that existing something as a fact or a thing without imagination and imitations. But if we come to Indian perspective on it, we find that reality is something which is Satya, Vastava, Yatharth, Pursarth, Paramarth, Sat, Asat, Vilakshana. There are so many ways of articulating and expressing the notion of reality. It may be a fact, it may be something which is not a fact at all, because how real is reality at the quantum level, we have no access to it. So there are a lot of contestations on it. But environmental issues as some kind of, real phenomenon affecting each and every one of us is something which is which he has raised and he has substantially developed. I'm reminded of one thing at Lusaka in Zambia. There was a zoo, and when you try to go to the zoo, you have to go through a cage, and the notice of the cage reads, "World's most dreadful animal." But everybody has to go through that only. So, with a sense of fear and everything, people started going inside, but they did not find any animal. Instead, they found a full-size mirror where you can look at yourself. So humans are the most dreadful animals on earth. So the basic problem is addressed to the human life only. They have created the problems. Now they are facing the problems. They're looking for a solution. The solution is there, but the will to perform action in that direction is something which is missing. The globality of consciousness is missing still. There are voices raised in each and every conferences, but still, how much they are affected by the war. If it is happening anywhere, it is happening everywhere. So it is affecting each one of us. It is affecting the peace everywhere. It's global. We are living in a globalized world. Nobody is isolated. So reality has a very, much wider connotation, and the first presentation was very substantive in that direction. The second one has added one more element into it, that is the rights and the legal dimension of it. So that let the state come forward, because most of the issues, the problems which we are facing was sponsored by the state only. They looked for the development issues and created dams, bridges, and everything else, express highways, war, and everything else. So the state has to come forward. The legal issues have to be raised substantially. And I think Sylvia has done very substantive work in that direction. And Dr. Ngamba has, in fact, there was some issue towards the end of his presentation, but the slides, we could see that it was done. And he has emphasized on the duty aspect of it. That's fascinating notion, because right is not good enough. We have to proceed to the duty dimension of it. And that duty leads us to the dharma aspect. And in that direction, the paper is quite complimentary one.
Thank you, sir.
After that, we have Anamika's paper on Bhagavad Gita, and she has taken up the issues in a very comprehensive manner, particularly the Lok Sangra dimension of her paper, that some kind of common good has to be created, and also weapons of mass destruction has to be avoided to be used, so that there is no genocide. Though of course it's very mythical that how many people were there, how many people of them died. So because they have said 11 Akshawhidi Sena. If you have been to the place Kurukshetra and everything, and I think Gurpreet also knows about it, Manpreet also knows about it, that 11 Akshawhidi Sena cannot even stand there, not to talk about fighting and everything else. So, but it's very symbolic, it is suggestive, and one can look at it that the weapons of mass destruction has to be avoided. And even today also we are at the edge of it, where weapons of mass destruction are ready. If nuclear war takes place, who will win and who will lose, we do not know, because nuclear war cannot be won, and therefore there is no point of fighting with this kind of thing. They're making use of it as a deterrence only, showing the capability, credibility, and the communication aspect of it. But this issue was raised in the Bhagavad Gita, in the Mahabharata, and this way it has also given some kind of a complementary dimension of it. Dr. Abu Zahar, in fact, he has taken up the concept of Ridha and the Dharma very substantially, and the transition from the Ridha to the Dharma is something which is very remarkable, because it addresses the fundamental issue that the 5 cosmological forces, earth, water, fire, air, and ether, how together they have created the notion of nature as a gift to humanity. So, and then our job is to protect the nature. If the nature is protected, we are also protected. Dharma rakshati rakshita. That kind of a thing. If you save the dharma, then dharma will save you. That way it is very substantive one. Sushant has taken up the tribal religion, and it was very ambitious paper, but I think he is a research scholar. It's still a long way to go. The issues are there, substantive issues are there, from Spinoza to the Vedic spiritual tradition and everything else he has taken up. I wish him all the best, and he should carry it on. And globalization and modernization, how they are going to affect the tribal culture, which is in a way very sustainable on its own. Dr. Rinke's conception on environment and the spirituality aspect, it's very, again, very, because spirituality is not a set of truths like religion. Religion has the truth, but spirituality is a search for the truth. And in spirituality, we do not have any kind of do's or don'ts. Rather, we are also trying to have it, establish it. Do's and don'ts we find only in the religion, kind of, not in spirituality. So spirituality is a different kind of connotation, and one needs to have a vision, a spiritual vision, to sustain the ecology. And Dr. Arun has taken up the Prakriti and the Purush kind of an issue, and something which is very interesting in the Sankhya philosophy, that it is only in the Prakriti that we have mind and also the ego. Manas is there in the Prakriti. It's not there in the Purush. Purush is my brainless kind of an entity. Yeah, it doesn't have brain. Mind, brain, it is there in the Prakriti only. And ego is also there in the Prakriti only. So the environmental problems or the kind of a thing created by the manas and the ego, and it can be restrained and reformed on the basis of the manas and the ego. So in a way, we can see that this session has been very comprehensive, very elaborate, and very many issues have been taken up. And I would like to just present 2-3 points more, that for any kind of environmental issues and sustainability, all we need is to have a global thinking and local actions. are very important one. And if there is a war anywhere, then it is a danger to peace everywhere. And it is the same thing which is true about environment. If the, butterfly episode, if a butterfly is killed, then it will affect, even if it is killed in the Himalayas, it will affect at Miami. So that thing is here. Second thing is that the idea of ecological stress will contribute to social instability and civil strife. There is a lot of strife if the environmental stress is there. Ecological considerations have naturally enough led internationalists to appeal for the creation of a world government or a world federation to solve the so-called environmental problem. Because we need a global institution to monitor everything else. The developed countries, they say that they have made all the development, but the developing countries, Mexico, India, China, and so many other countries, they have to put restraint on it. Whereas the developed nations, they have done the job. Now the thing is that which generation has full access to whatever is available on the earth. In fact, no generation has this right to have full access to whatever is available on earth. In fact, what we have is simply a life tenancy with a full repairing lease. We have to give this earth to our next generation. It is that kind of a sense of responsibility that we need to inculcate in ourselves. And for that purpose, we have to develop some kind of holistic view of the very basis of our existence, with due recognition of gender dimension also, ecofeminism and other such issues. That also is very important dimension of it. So with these words, I thank you all the presentations. I've really learned a lot with your presentation. I've taken notes on it and prepared more on it. And thank you very much. And thank you, Dr. Manpreet Kaur, and for being with us. You have been, organizing it so well, so efficiently. Thank you very much. And all the very best to Dr. Anu, who has organized it. All the very best. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for your kind words. So as we come to the close of this online session, I express my heartfelt gratitude to everyone who made this event a success. So our sincere thanks to our respected chief guest, Dr. R.P. Singh, who graced the occasion with valuable insights, and how beautifully he concluded the presentation presented by every participant. So we are also greatly grateful to our paper presenters and all the participants who contributed, whose contributions added depth and richness in our knowledge. So we will look forward to meet again and in future endeavors with the same energy and the spirit of learning. So wishing all the participants the success in your academic and professional growth. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful day ahead. Thank you so much.
Excuse me, sir. I would like to say a few things to Professor R.P. Singh. May I, sir? Sir, may I say something to Professor R.P. Singh, sir?
Please.
In fact, thank you very much for your feedback. Well, I couldn't, finish up my conclusion part, but somehow I don't know, it was disrupted. In fact, your friend, Professor B.T. Sebastian, a professor emeritus from Punjab University, he reminded, when in fact, I have been nurtured and, supervised by him during my PhD work, and I did my PhD from Punjab University. So when I told him about you, that you're going to chair this international conference, and he remembers you, sir.
Thank you. He is good friend. Thank you.
Right,
but we saw your presentation on the slides.
Right,
so, but anyway, it was very good. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
So thank you very much, and over to you, Dr. Manu, please.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much. Once again, thanks to all the paper presenters and the participants for joining this session and make this event a success. Thank you so
Rajni
much.
has again raised the hand.
Rajni, I think mistakenly she has again raised the hand.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you so
Okay.
much,
Thank you.
everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Hello.